What is up, YouTube? It's your boy ThatRnRyder coming at you with another video. And today I want to talk to you about your tips and tricks to buying a motorcycle. So this is whether you're looking to buy your first bike or whatever bike in general. There's going to be some good tips and strategies to buying your bike. So the first thing you want to do is decide what kind of bike you want to ride. Whether you want to be a street rider, you want a sports bike, or maybe you want to also do dirt, so you want to get a dual sport, or maybe you're more into like adventure kind of bikes, or maybe you just want a dirt bike, you know. So, or maybe you want a cruiser like a Harley. So that's the first step, is decide what kind of rider are you and what kind of bike you're looking for. Then you want to do some research. You want to do some research on the bikes that first you want to, once you decide what kind of bike you want, what style, then you want to do some research on those bikes for that style. Now if you're looking for a sports bike, you know, you have Suzuki, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda. I would say stay with the Japanese bikes, especially if you're kind of new into bikes and your budget is not that high, because if you go with like Italian or German, like BMW, Ducati or whatever, they're gonna be a lot more expensive, hard to find, repairs, everything for that bike's gonna be more. And me personally, I love Japanese bikes. They have the best sound in my opinion, and they're reliable as fuck, so I definitely recommend a Japanese bike. Now I don't know a lot about other bikes, so I can't really talk about that, but you're gonna have to do some research on that. Other than that, once you do your research and find the bike that you want to do, that you want to buy, and you want to do some research and look at, you know, specs, look at video reviews and reliability and things like that, so you can get an idea. And once you decide what bike you want to go, then you want to go online and basically start looking for your bike. I recommend that you look online first before walking into let's say the dealer, because I myself hate, like, when I walk into a dealer and I start looking at bikes or whatever, the salesman, you know, start coming up to you and start being pushy and start pressuring you, and it just kind of ruins the whole experience. I hate pushy salesmen. So what I recommend is first look online. Most dealers have an inventory page online, and then once you have the bikes that you like already picked out, then you can go ahead and visit the dealerships or whatever. Or maybe you're going off of Craigslist, you know, then you go visit the person and take a look at the bike. Now when you take a look at the bike, there's going to be some important things that you're going to want to check and ask, and this is especially if you're buying the bike off of Craigslist, off of someone, because, you know, people out there could just be trying to get rid of their bike because it's messed up or whatever, and they're just trying to get rid of it. And you know, people on Craigslist can be sketchy. So one thing you want to check is for rust. Make sure the bike doesn't have any rust. That tells a lot. You know, if they left the bike outside, if it's been sitting outside and getting rained on or whatever, the chain's gonna be all rusty. You know, certain metal parts of the frame or whatever can get rusty, so you want to check for rust. It's your number one thing. Second thing is ask the owner for the service history. Ask him when was the last time the oil was changed, what kind of oil he used, you know, how often did he change his oil, this and that. You want to ask that. And then another thing you could do is most motorcycles have a little glass where you can look at the oil to check the oil level. Take a look at that and see what the color of that oil is. I mean, oil, when it's nice and new, it's nice and golden and yellow, so that's a good sign. But even if it's a little darker, that's fine. Oil does get darker, you know, with a couple miles, so that's fine, just as long as it's not like, doesn't look like it's sludge and like dark black in there. But that's something that you want to look for. Also check the coolant level, check the chain. and the sprocket. Check to see if the chain and sprocket are worn down and the tooth are chipped or whatever. That can tell you a lot. That can tell you they probably did a lot of wheelies on their bike, or you know, their chain is long overdue for a change, so you want to keep that in mind. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is, or that you want to ask is, let's see. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Sorry guys, I'm focused right now on this turn right here. One thing at a time. So another thing you want to find out is, of course, take a look at the title. Make sure they have the title and it's clean, you know, the bike's not stolen or whatever. Make sure they have the keys, obviously. Another thing is, look at the tires. You know, look for tire wear. I'll probably do another video on that, on how to check the tires for tire wear, but just, you know, take a look at the tires, make sure there's still tread on them, and if there's not, you know, that's something you got to consider. You're gonna need new tires, and that's something that you can knock off the price from the bike. But let's see, another thing, of course, look at the body. Look for little scratches. Look for nicks and scratches on the body of the bike. And I'm gonna turn right here. Shit, I'm going the wrong way. But looking for some shade. But I think I'm gonna park here for a second, guys. But so yeah, I think I'd rather get down and show you. So just take a look at the bike and look for some dings and scratches on the body. For example, like, look at, you know, my bike has a little scratch right there. That's something you're gonna want to consider. Look for any aftermarket parts, you know, so you can see if they change maybe the exhaust or anything, you know, you might not like it or whatever. That's something else to consider. And of course, turn on the bike and make sure you turn it on when it's nice and cold. Don't you know, when you get there, make sure that they haven't warmed up the bike already. You want to start it with it's cold, because a lot of things can be hidden when the engine is warmed up. So make sure you start it when it's nice and cold, and let it warm up. Hear for any weird sounds or whatever, and you know, once it's warmed up, you know, give it a couple revs. Obviously be respectful, it's not your bike, so don't be revving the shit out of it. But you know, check the mileage, make sure there's no kind of check engine lights or whatever they're called, you know, on the bike. Let's see, another thing you want to check is obviously with test riding the bike. When I went and bought this bike, the dealership didn't let me test ride it. They said it's like a liability thing, and it makes sense. I mean, they're not gonna let anyone just go test ride a motorcycle. And I had my motorcycle license and everything, so you know, I already had even the loan and whatever. So, but they still didn't let me test ride it. So I'm not sure if that's everywhere. And then as well as for private owners, they might be iffy about letting you test ride it. I know for me, when I sold my first bike off of Craigslist, what I did was I had the owner give me the money, and when I had the money in my hand, then I said, all right, you can go test ride it. So, you know, basically if anything were to happen during that test ride, you know, he would have dropped my bike and fuck it up, hey, the bike is his and I keep the money. So make sure, you know, see if the private owner wants to do that. But if not, you might not be able to test ride it. You know, now the dealership that I bought this at, they didn't let me test ride it, but they said I had a 24-hour period that, you know, basically I would take it, and within 24 hours, if I didn't like it or something, I could bring it back. But yeah, guys, now whether you should finance or buy your bike cash, I'd recommend that you buy it cash. Of course, cash is always king, but you know, for some of you that may not be an option. Like for me, I know that's not an option, so I had to finance it. And what I recommend is go through a credit union, or you know, or your bank, but a credit union is better, and get the loan through them, because you're gonna get a lower interest rate That's what I did, and then take that to the dealership, versus, you know, getting a loan through the dealership and financing it through them, because your interest rate's going to be a lot higher. But yeah, guys, so do that. And let's see. Of course, before you get your bike, you also want to get some insurance quote for the bikes that you're looking for. You want to factor that into the cost, especially if you're making payments. That's what I did, to make sure that you can afford that bike, because, you know, if you're young or whatever, below 25, your insurance rate might be pretty high for a sports bike. Now, another tip is definitely buy used. Don't buy a brand new bike, especially if you're planning to, if you think you're going to get rid of it. Now, if you think you're going to keep that bike or whatever, definitely go with brand new. I mean, you don't have nothing to lose. But if you're thinking of getting rid of it, or maybe trading it later or whatever, get a used bike, because if you get a new one, the value is going to drop so much after you buy it or whatever, and then you try to sell it, you're gonna lose a lot of money. So try to get it used. Like, for example, this is a 2011. You know, right now it's 2018, and this bike is great. I mean, I love this bike. It's, you know, when I say used, I don't mean get you something from the 90s or, you know, whatever, but definitely like a couple years old. Like for like this 2011, to me is fine. 2011 and up. You know, this bike has everything. Now, if you ask me, I'll tell you to go with the Gixxer, but hey, that's all personal opinion. But yeah, guys, you know, and also, if you're buying off of Craigslist, make sure that before you go, ask some questions over the phone. And a lot of people will be hesitant. Some people don't like to answer questions over the phone because they think you're wasting their time, and you might have to go see it in person. But try to get some questions over the phone, you know, just to make sure you're not wasting your time, and ask for pictures or whatever. And the thing with the dealership is, you know, the dealership's always gonna have a higher price, so you can try to budge their price, you know, see if you can negotiate something. But that's kind of hard with the dealership. When I got this one, I tried to negotiate the price to see if they could get a little lower, and they just wouldn't do it. So yeah, dealership's kind of hard. But with a private owner, you know, depending how bad they want to sell it, they might decide to lower the price for you. But anyways, guys, I think that's gonna go ahead and conclude this video right here about my tips and strategies on buying a bike. So if you guys haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click the little bell symbol to be notified every time that I upload videos, and comment down below what you guys think, and what you guys want me to cover. And if you have any questions or whatever, comment down below. Anyways, guys, ThatRnRyder, peace.